what's up, y'all? It is Toni Estes. Welcome back to the Before the Pop podcast. I got somebody that is absolutely needed. Let me tell you about her. She actually has a company called Just Elope. She's going to tell you all about it, but she's launching a podcast very, very soon. It's called Wedding to Wife. She's going to be talking about the wedding process, how much it costs to do all of these Pinterest weddings that y'all think cost $2 that actually cost $1 million, right? And talk about the process of being a wife, because the work comes in after the wedding, right? She's a mother. She has 3 boys. What'd you say? 2, 10, and 8.
Yes.
And she's been married for 13 years, so she's been in the game a long time. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Jennifer Allen.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, absolutely. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. Okay, so we're going to talk about this is really, really, really needed, okay? Because I don't remember the first time. I think the first time I saw you were on the news.
Okay.
I think that's the very first time I saw you. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept, right? And I think at the time, I was probably in the photography space because I'm like a creative, so ain't no telling what I'm doing at any given moment, right? But I had seen a few courthouse weddings that were kind of bomb. So when I saw you, I was like, oh, this is like a whole thing, right?
Let's make it a thing.
Yes, let's make it a thing. Yo, you made it a thing for real. So we're going to get to all the wedding stuff. But before that, let me ask you, where are you from? Are you originally from here? Or?
Yeah, I'm from Garland, Texas.
Okay, got it. Okay. And can I ask you how you met your husband?
Yes.
Okay.
So I met my husband on MySpace.
What? I wasn't ready. It feel like every week I'm getting some information like, I didn't know that, so tell me more.
I met my husband on MySpace, and I kid you not, for years we told people that we met at Walmart because who meets on MySpace? It just felt real creepy. Like I feel like if we would have said, "Oh, we met on Facebook," it would have been okay.
Right.
So you got to remember, this is 2009, right?
It.
So it's not like it was like last week or anything.
Right.
But randomly, I had not been on MySpace in years, and I remember my password randomly. Me and my best friend were talking about it, and I logged on, and I don't know. I remember coming across his profile or something, or he'd sent me a message, and I responded back, and he was like, well, what's your phone number? And we exchanged numbers. This was a Saturday.
Okay.
We literally exchanged phone numbers and talked all day long on Saturday. And then the next day, that evening, he was like, man, I wish I could see you tomorrow, but I have to go to work. And so I'm 3 years older than my husband. So he was 19 at the time, and I was 22. And so he was like, I wish I could see you tomorrow, but I have to go to work. And I'm like, oh, hey, you get your paper.
Right.
We can link up at another time.
Right.
So the next day he called me and he's like, what you doing today? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, you want to go out? I'm like, I thought you had to work.
Right.
And he was like, I'm sick. I'm like, see, you already got piss poor work ethic. I don't know. We're gonna be able to even hang out because you out here trying to go out with some chick you don't even know instead of going to your job.
Right.
And so I always tease him about that because he's such an amazing provider. And so I'm like, you were not thinking about that at 19.
Right.
So it's cool to see your spouse grow into a grown up, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard growing up in front of somebody else.
It is.
When you are together for so long and you are, young adults trying to figure it out, now you have to figure it out in front of somebody else. And so all of your flaws and insecurities are exposed.
Right.
And while most people are just like, oh, okay, I'll make these mistakes, you're making them in front of somebody. And now we dated for a year and a half.
Okay.
And so before we got married. So now you're a husband, then you're a dad, and you're 21.
Listen, and there's a difference between growing in front of somebody starting at 19 and when you're growing in front of somebody starting at 40.
Right. Because in reality, like if I, God forbid, but if I had to start over and be with somebody else, like I don't want to be with you in your struggle phase.
Nah, not at a grown.
Not at this big age.
Not at this big age.
I'm 37. I have 3 children. I don't want to
struggle with you. Like no. That's a no for me.
We gonna both have to come to the table. But luckily, my boo is we gonna keep rocking.
Absolutely, y'all are. Yes, absolutely, y'all are. Okay, so you're from Texas. You met your boo on MySpace, which I don't know that I've ever. I'm sure there's millions of people out there like that, but I've never heard. But I do have some friends that met like in more current times on dating apps, and they lied and said they met somewhere. They was like, that just sound weird. Like we ain't gonna make it. Yeah. If I say we met on Tinder, or whatever it was. Right. You know what I mean? So that's dope. Okay, so what brought you to? How about here's a better question. What type of wedding did you have? So my wedding, or lack thereof, is what caused me to launch my business. Got it. That's what I figured. Okay. So those who can't teach, right? So right. Those who don't have a wedding, give it to somebody else. Right. So my husband was leaving my boyfriend at the time was leaving for deployment. Got it. And so before he left, he proposed. And so he said, I would love for us to get married before I left. If something was to happen to me while I was gone, you are, in the eyes of the law, we are just a couple. And you would get nothing. You would not be taken care of. Baby, that man was thinking at 21. He was really... I called him early and shaped them up. Molded them down. Molded them down. Oh, that's a very mature thought process. For that. Okay, dope. And so, and that's always been him. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's get married. Well, we had 5 days to figure that out. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go to City Hall. Let me start looking for another company. Like, let me try to find a company that we can go through so that we can get married. So now this is 2010, July 2010. And it didn't exist in Dallas. Our only options were, are we going to go off to Vegas or go to City Hall? Got it. We didn't have necessarily the financial resources at the time. We were young and poor. And so we couldn't just hop on a flight and go to Vegas. And I don't even think he was supposed to leave from where he was. He was only supposed to go you're at home and then you need to go on this plane so you can go to San Diego and then we're going to Africa. Boom, boom, boom. Don't be trying to do nothing else. Right. And so it didn't exist. So we went to City Hall on a random Tuesday. I was my mom and my niece. She was 6. He had on the same clothes that he proposed in 5 days earlier. I went to Walmart, bought a little white linen dress, and the judge had helped somebody with their driver's license. Some situation was going on, and we were the next people up. And we got married, and about 4 hours later, he left for deployment. Whoa. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so after he left, when did he come back? He was gone for 10 months. What? Yeah. Oh my God. Y'all didn't have any babies at that point? No. Right. Okay, so y'all didn't have babies. Really? Yeah. Oh, so I spent basically my first year of marriage alone. And during that time, I was supposed to start planning this big, epic wedding. And a few things started to happen. Number one, I realized that my idea of epic did not match my bank account. That was number one. That'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it every time. Yeah. I immediately realized in the world of weddings, I was poor. Got it. And I think that people don't understand having money and having luxury wedding money is two different things. Completely different. Two different things. Completely different. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's I can buy a bottle of Moet. You thinking, I'm fancy. But then you go somewhere and you realize that that's a poor man's champagne. You be that ain't popping. You y'all got some, they Moet. Who drinks that? Who drinks that? Girl, they sell it at the grocery store. That part. So I'm we got Moet money in here. And then they don't tell nobody. You gonna need something else. Right. And so I'm wow. And then the biggest thing was the appeal and excitement was gone because I was already married. Yes.
And so I think that was one of the things that was really hard for me, was justifying spending the money, and we were already married.
Yeah, because at that point it's leveled out. Yeah. Not that you're not excited about being married, but it's like you already married.
And then I'm like, okay, this is like $50, $60 a plate.
Absolutely.
And then I started thinking, like, under normal circumstances, would I ever pay $60 for you to eat?
Yes. Right, exactly.
No.
It's like, no, probably not. Me and my husband had, I want to say about 600 guests.
How do you know 600 people?
Well, that's the thing.
Where you meet them at?
So that's the thing about that's why I thought this was so dope. It's because when you start inviting people, you got to invite the family that you may or may not talk to. You got to invite your mom and daddy's friends that's known you since you was little. Then all the people that I knew, because I did know a whole lot of people. I had a long home career.
You showing your wealth right now.
You
showing your wealth right now.
Let me tell you this though. So all 600 were not invited to the reception.
Okay.
I think we had 300 and something.
Oh,
but here's the thing though. My parents paid for my wedding.
Oh, you showing they wealth.
I ain't showing mine. Right? Like I'm showing So but even then I was still like, okay, there were certain things I wanted. My parents was like, no, baby, we're not doing all that. Right. And I was bartering, like, I'll do a show here at the hotel for you for your court. And they'll be like, okay. So they gave me a block of rooms.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I was kind of, wheeling and dealing throughout the year to get certain things. But it was still really expensive. Yeah. And I think I bartered down to $45 a plate. Okay. But at 300 and something people and service fees and the venue, like it was crazy.
It gets
stupid.
It gets real stupid.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to plan. So when he got home, I was no closer to planning a wedding than I was when he left. And so I had found a venue. I'm like, okay, we found a wedding planner, and I paid her. And the wheels just the motion just was not going. And so about a year after he was home, so about 2 years now we're married, we got pregnant with our first baby. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, we obviously not finna have a wedding. So the wedding planner was like, well, y'all have already paid me. I will do your baby shower.
Got it. Okay.
So she provided all the decor for our baby shower. So it was really nice. And so that part worked out well. She did the food, all of it. So I'm like, okay, well, at least that money didn't go to waste. And then when I'm like, okay, well, now let's just so I'm like, we'll just plan something else. So now I'm still trying to, in my mind, like, okay, here we go. And when my first son, Maddox, was 10 months old, I found that I was pregnant with our second son.
Got it.
And so I'm like, that one was like a boom. Maddox was planned. We were like, we ready to have a baby. And then Jackson was like, you remember that day where I liked you a lot? We got something coming. From
that one day.
You remember that time?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so now we're at 2014. So now I've been married for 4 years now. So I'm like, we'll do something for our 5th year. Well, now I got 2 kids in daycare.
It's always
something, right? So right. I'm like, I really can't justify it. And my mom was like, well, we can just do something small. We could just try to figure something out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we never did anything. We kept going through life, going through the motions. And so I'm like, man, we should do something for year 7. I'm like, we can go to Vegas, lucky number 7. I'm on Pinterest looking stuff up. Like I'm like, okay, we gonna do it. And then finally I was like, you know what? I'm not. Girl, let it go. Like, I'm like, let it go. Mm-hmm. And that gave me the idea I want to create a business where other brides don't have to feel like I felt, where their only option was the courthouse or going to Vegas. There has to be some type of local option for couples to go with. And in February 2017, I launched Just Elope. And we started out with just marrying couples at public parks. You can come get married. We have an officiant. We're going to take some pictures. That way you're not in a stuffy courthouse. You got some great pictures. You can go off to dinner afterwards and you are good.
Right.
And it worked. The first year we married 8 people. I'm like, man, this is 8 folks that paid me to come in here.
Yes.
Like, and we didn't marry these folks outside.
Right.
I'm like, this is wild.
Right.
And then it just grew. Then so everybody I married the first year, I personally knew.
That's what I was about to say. How did you get your first?
Yes.
You know, because of the way we've been conditioned, you know, it's like I want the Pinterest wedding, and it feels like the bill. I've been married 19 years at this point, but it feels like the bill just keep getting bigger and bigger. When I'm looking at something, I'm like, oh, that's what they doing now. They doing fireworks and you know what I'm saying, just all of this stuff, right? So, so to try to sell somebody on a small park wedding seems like sometimes a hard sell. So how did you get your first? So how did you convince your first person?
What we did was when I decided I was launching a business, I'm like, okay, great. My mom she's super supportive. She bought me a pre-made logo off of Etsy.
Okay.
And so that's where the logo came from. I did photography, and so she bought a dress from David's Bridal. My dad put on his suit. My sister was the officiant. We did like a vow renewal for them so that I can have content to showcase on my website.
Got it.
Really, really big on using your own footage. Like, I am not a inspiration picture person. I want you to see what I can do, not what, potentially could be done.
Right.
And so I used those pictures. I got on Wix, paid the $8, made a website and put it on Facebook that this is what we were doing. I had a couple that reached out to me and said that they were going to City Hall to go get married because they were a same-sex couple, and when their venue found out, they told them that they would not marry them there. And that we apparently were for Facebook friends. And so they were like, we know you do photography. Will you come to the courthouse and shoot our wedding? We want to get married on Valentine's Day.
Got it.
And so I was like, well, I just launched this company a couple days ago, and what if we married y'all like at a park? That way you wouldn't have to go to City Hall and go get married, and we can make it nice. And they were like, what, for real? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh my God, that'd be so perfect.
Got it.
And that was my first.
The beginning.
That was the beginning. That was my very first couple. I married them at Clyde Warren Park.
And Clyde Warren Park is cute.
Yeah.
That's really cute. So to add some context, so if you're comparing a wedding and one of your weddings, right? Minus your fees. We're not talking about what your company would charge. We're talking about bare minimum costs. You know what I'm saying? What's the price difference? Because I feel like I know, right? But what's the price difference between a Pinterest wedding and having something fly, like and having a small park wedding? Like, just cost. Don't say what you would charge, because that varies, right? Right. But just that bare minimum, the average wedding cost is about in 2023 is about $32,000. And that's average. That ain't even with no bunch of bells and whistles. And if you're in New York or California, that price is substantially higher. The most basic package that we offer, to where you could get married, beautiful background, amazing pictures that you can hang on your wall, keep forever, is $1,000. Okay. So you could save, $31,000 in savings. That is crazy. And the outcome is going to be the same. That's what I'm saying. The outcome is going to be, because really and truly, like, literally, had I not, because again, my parents paid for my wedding, my husband's mom, because his father has passed away, but his mom paid for the rehearsal dinner. So all of that. But with my wedding, all what it was, I loved my wedding and I loved the experience. But had I been using my own money, I don't know. Correct. I don't know. Afterwards, I don't know that I probably would have felt like, dang, we probably should have
did something
did
else
something
with
else
right.
with that money. You know what I'm saying?
And most people now are paying for their own weddings.
Right.
Like that is the norm. The norm is not that the expectation is that your parents are paying for your wedding.
Right.
And the beauty of what we do is that it's not limited to, it's not a financial thing for people all the time.
Got it.
And by that I mean we started out marrying people at public parks, but now we partner with venues all over Dallas, including the Arboretum.
Got it.
And so it's like we can give you this amazing experience. But we have couples, for example, Jerry Rice's daughter got married with Just Elope.
Got it.
She could have afforded to have a multi-million-dollar wedding.
Right.
Her father is the GOAT.
The GOAT.
She is the co-creator of GOAT Fuel energy drink.
Could have had whatever wedding
she could have had whatever she wanted.
Right.
She used our services, our makeup artists, our recommendation for her dress, our floral. Everything went through our company. I didn't even know who she was until like 2 days before the wedding. And my husband was like, Jaquie Rice. I'm like, yeah. He's like, Jerry Rice's daughter? And I'm like, I guess so. Right. Jerry Rice, yeah. He's like, Jerry Rice, Jennifer. And I'm like, yeah, Jerry Rice. He's like, so I'm sorry, Googling. I'm like, is this
Jerry Rice?
He's like, she said her daddy walking her down the aisle. And I said, yeah. He's like, so Jerry Rice gonna be there. I'm like, why do we keep repeating this over and over and over again? Right. She was the sweetest person.
Got it.
Ever.
Got it.
And she was like, I just want to be married.
Right. And it really, when you really have a full understanding of what marriage is, you know, you have a good grip on like, you know what, they don't have, because you can have the biggest wedding in the world and don't make it.
Right.
Because I know some situations.
Oh, I know. I know plenty.
Yes.
And she's like, I just wanted a wedding. And we've married doctors, lawyers, professional football players, literally at public parks.
Got it.
And Jeff Smith, he plays for the New York Giants now, I think, or the Jets or he just got traded to somewhere else. I married him and his wife literally downtown Dallas, just the two of them and their dogs.
See? And so what is the average guest size?
So our max is 50.
Got it.
So we don't do anything over 50 guests. Mm-hmm. Most of our packages people go with, they have about 25 people, but we do a lot of weddings where it's just the couple.
Got it.
No guest at all. Texas does not require you to have a witness.
Got it.
And so we do a lot of couples where it's just the two of them.
Got it. That's dope. Okay, so because I'm all fascinated with the story like that, it's so good. But now I guess I gotta go to the pop before the pop. Yeah. So part of the before the pop was, you know, when you came up with your business because it's like, okay, so how am I gonna do this? No money, but you want to say fly, and then years went by. And it's like, okay, never mind.
Right.
And, I mean, whatever. Just you feel a need. You feel the need, right? Because nothing goes. I keep trying to explain to people that you don't start a business like, bam, and we was a multi-million-dollar company that first week.
No.
Just does not work that way. So what has been the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome in the process of building your business?
So one of the biggest things is that I am a creative by nature.
Okay. I
have a new idea and something that I want to start every other week. If I think it or I see it and like it just starts to consume me. I spent like 4 days looking up how to start my own funeral home. I'm like, baby,
girl, don't even get me started on the funeral home. And look, that'll probably be next for my husband. Not me,
I'm like, look, I'm finna do this. Yes. I spent like 4 days going down a rabbit hole, all the stuff we needed to do. I done assigned jobs. I'm like, my mama could do this, my sister can do like I am always all over the place with everything. And I think the hardest part when I first started was my husband, because he is married to a creative who every other day wants to do something different. And so when I said I wanted to do Just Elope, it was another thing in the list of hundreds that you said you want to do, that you started and stopped. invested your money in, your time. And for him, it was really the time, because anything that I've ever wanted to do, I've like self-taught myself how to do it, to try to cut the middleman out.
Absolutely.
And so he really wasn't the money piece that was bothering him. He's like, but like, you let stuff consume you. And I think that was probably the hardest thing, was not only was I trying to build this business that I was finally passionate about, I had to convince him.
You be like, I'm for real this time.
I'm for real. I know I said that every time. But for 3 years. But this time,
it's for real.
This idea, I'm telling you, like, it's gonna pop.
It popped.
And he was like, okay, Jennifer. And he would be like, what are you working on now? I'm like, oh, I'm just looking up stuff. He's like, you've been on the computer for like 4 hours. And so it was this kind of, power struggle, because I'm like, I'm just trying to work and, grow this business. I'm telling you, like, this is it.
And it's and because of when you started it, I mean, 2017, we were, further into it and had a little bit better of an understanding at that point. But people still didn't understand, like, no, what you doing on a computer? Because it was such a foreign idea, like, okay. Like, so can this turn into money? You just looking at stuff all day?
So how is this going to turn into money? Right. And we had 2 small kids.
Got it.
And so it's like, okay, what are we doing? And I think that was probably the hardest part in the beginning, is just showing him, like, I'm telling you, like, this can be a thing.
Yes.
I think the second hardest part of it was realizing that everybody wasn't my client, and that was okay. It took me some time to realize, like, it's not personal, because they're not turning me down. Like, their debit card is turning me down.
Right.
So, like, it's not me.
Right.
It's their card.
Yes.
Again, and once I kind of put that thought process in my head, like, I was cool with it.
Got it.
And because I worked the entire time I've had my business, I wasn't chasing the money piece of it to where it's like, I have to take any and everybody that comes along because I have to pay bills.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, that allowed me to really run my business the way I wanted to get it to the point where it is now. I'm, as of last Monday, I'm going to fish this Monday. What's today? Thursday?
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday. As of Monday, I'm officially a full-time entrepreneur. Yay! As of Monday. So, but I've been in business since 2017.
Do y'all hear that? She didn't start last weekend, and now she full-time. It's like a whole thing.
I've been in business since 2017, and Tuesday was my first official day as a full-time entrepreneur.
Got it.
And I think that social media makes people believe that in order to be a boss, you can't work for somebody else.
Right.
And I don't believe that at all, because you're working for somebody no matter what. Like, I work for my clients. I work for these venues that I partner with. Right. And if you are not a good employee, you'll never really be a good boss, because most people lack discipline.
Listen.